Part 22. Swallowed Star, My Understanding is Beyond Belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 211. What is the concept of military merit of 1 billion? In the military, it is also emphasized that a capable person works more. The stronger the person, the higher the military merit quota issued by the system. Generally speaking, the military merit of an ordinary realm lord warrior is between 1 million and 10 million. The elite group mainly has more people, between 10 million and 100 million. There are even more realm masters and generals, basically all above 100 million, with a maximum of 1 billion. And this is the military merit quota requirement that the virtual universe system automatically distributes to the world lord after he steps into the battlefield outside the territory. Rorschach is not an ordinary realm master. He is also an original member of Metaverse Corporation. Therefore, in addition to completing the military merit quota issued by the system, he also has the military merit quota requirement arranged by Virtual Universe Company. And the military merit quota requirement issued to him by Virtual Universe Company is even greater. It's 10 trillion. This is a life and death experience arranged by the company for Rorschach. You must earn 10 trillion military merits in foreign battlefields before you can leave here. Originally, the company's top management wanted to increase Rorschach's military merit to 50 trillion because of his strength. But because the battlefield outside the territory is too dangerous, it is a pity that a genius like Rorschach really died here. So after some consideration, we still only arranged a military merit quota requirement of 10 trillion for Luoxia. Back to Rorschach. After joining Enji's team, Yukine completed pre-war training for Rorschach and Polo. The extraterritorial battlefield is full of crises. Swayan and the others have been here for thousands of years and have rich experience. They know what to do and what not to do on the battlefield. Rorschach and Polo had just arrived and had little experience. People need to teach you what you should do and what you shouldn't do. This matter fell on Swayan. Swayan is also very enthusiastic about this matter, because she can talk, she likes talking the most. But on the battlefield, sometimes she had to keep quiet enough. Only when she returned to the barrack space could she speak without any scruples. Under Swayan's guidance, Rorschach and Polo gained a deeper understanding of the first battlefield, and also learned many battlefield experiences. For example, if you see an immortal corpse, it is best not to approach it easily. Because that could be bait. The corpse of the immortal god is a good thing, and its value is no less than some treasures. On this first battlefield, the most common things you can see are immortal corpses, and most of the corpses are very dangerous. If you approach them at will, you will easily lose your life. Rorschach and Polo both remembered these battlefield knowledge firmly. They are clear. In this first battlefield where the mortality rate is as high as 99%, no matter how careful you are, you can never be too careful. Although Captain Yanji said she wanted to leave the barrack space, she stopped for 7 days before actually setting off. During these 7 days, Rorschach and Polo did nothing but stay with Swayan and listen to her talk about various battlefield experiences. At the same time, in the deep dark universe, on a planet made entirely of mechanical metal, a golden mechanical immortal looked into the starry universe and was communicating with an immortal mechanical race in the same galaxy. Did that human genius appear on the battlefield outside the territory? I don't know. There are no targets that match the information in the 11 battlefields. 100 years later, he should go to the battlefield outside the territory. Let the tribesmen on the battlefield pay attention. If you encounter someone with matching information, even if it is only 1,000th of the same, you must kill the opponent immediately. I will pass it on. On a planet full of immortal bugs. A beautiful and dreamy Zerg Mother Queen sat high on the throne. Her gentle whispers echoed, and she carried out her will. There is a high probability that the first genius of the human race has already gone to the battlefield outside the territory. Order the clansmen to kill him at all costs once discovered. We can't let humans be as strong as the Lord of Chaos City again. Ho ho ho. On the planet, countless immortal Zerg races looked up to the sky and roared, responding to the Mother Queen's will and orders. Monster Clan. On a dark planet. An extremely huge one that looks like a praying mantis, but is even more ferocious and ferocious. It exuded a terrifying aura, and the law fluctuated, shattering the dead bones on the ground around it. Hiss. It neighed, its shrill sound carried across the planet. Soon after, demon warriors rushed out of the darkness one by one, heading to a teleportation point, and through teleportation, entered the battlefields outside the territory. The purpose of these monsters is the same as that of other alien races. They are all about finding Rorschach and then erasing him at any cost. Captain is rich, he has an E9 class spaceship. Polo looked at the spaceship that appeared in front of him, smiled and praised Flame Fairy standing next to him. It's just an E9 class spaceship. Yanji waved her hand with a bright smile on her face. It's nothing, after staying on this battlefield for nearly 10,000 years, I can still save a little money. The dangers of foreign battlefields are dangers. But the opportunities are also great. Here, in addition to earning military merit, if you kill alien immortals, you can also get a lot of treasures. As long as those treasures are sold, it will be a lot of money. There are more than 800 such spaceships parked in my world ring, Yanji said. The world ring is a more advanced storage device than the space ring. This world ring can store both dead and living objects. Before coming to the battlefield outside the territory, Luoxia bought a lot of world rings. Let's all get on the spaceship, Yanji greeted. So Rorschach and the others boarded the spaceship. Swayan said, everyone, go to the living room. The strength of the living room is F9 level. It is the safest place in the spacecraft. Rorschach and the others followed them to the living room of the spacecraft, and sure enough they found that the walls of the living room were made of F9 level metal. Yanji smiled and explained, it costs too much to buy a spaceship made entirely of F9 level metal, so I customized a living room like this. In fact, the captains on this battlefield will basically customize one like this. Very popular. Polo asked at this time, Captain, where should we go next? When Yanji heard this question, her face became slightly serious. While she let the spacecraft intelligently control the spacecraft to take off and leave the base, she said to Rorschach and the others, go to Titan. Titan, Rorschach and Polo looked confused. Swayan explained, Titan is a very special planet in the secret realm. It has a diameter of more than 1 billion kilometers. It once gave birth to a special race, the Titans. However, those Titans had long been killed in the war. Currently only one huge planet is left in the secret realm. Yanji added, Titan is very hard. Even if the Immortals fight on it with all their strength, they cannot cause much damage. What we are going to this time is Titan. On Titan, there are various alien races and there are many immortal gods. It is a good place to earn military merit, Swayan said. Rorschach and Polo nodded, their expression serious. It will take at least a month to set off from the barracks base, Yanji continued, but after we leave the base, we must be vigilant, because there may be enemies anywhere outside the base. Understood, Luoxia nodded. Polo also put away the careless smile on his face. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 212. The spaceship sails in the dark and cold starry sky, and from time to time you can see corpses, broken spaceships, and land ruins floating in the starry sky. When encountering these things, the spacecraft will stay away from them. Although Rorschach and the others were sitting in the living room, they were always alert. As Captain Yanji said, after leaving the barracks base, you may encounter enemies at any time. Don't think that you won't encounter any dangers if you are not far from the camp. After going forward like this for several days, Rorschach and the others were a little nervous. especially Polo and Rorschach. They are true newcomers, coming to this kind of battlefield for the first time, and it is also the cruelest first battlefield. There is no way to compare with veterans like Yanji. Suddenly, Rorschach frowned and looked directly ahead of the spacecraft. In his detector, he had detected the aura of an immortal strongman. He spent a lot of points to redeem this detector from the company's treasury. The detection range reaches 30,000 light-years. As long as it is not a particularly powerful being, such as the Lord of the Universe, this detector can accurately detect it. Yanji noticed the change in the expression on Luoxia's face and asked, "What's wrong, Charlotte?" "My detector detected the aura of an immortal strongman," Rorschach said. As soon as these words came out, everyone else looked solemn. Even Luoxia, who was afraid of society, looked at Luoxia with solemn faces. Yanji snapped her fingers, and a projection suddenly appeared in front of her. The detection effect was displayed on the screen, but there was no discovery on it. Yanji couldn't help but frown slightly and asked Luoxia, "How far away is the immortal powerhouse you detected from us?" Rorschach listened to Babata's report and replied, "It is 80,000 light-years away from us, right in front of the spacecraft's course." 80,000 light-years. Yanji was slightly surprised. The detection range of this detector was very large. The detector on her spacecraft was already a very good one, but it only had a detection range of 10 million kilometers. It is very rare for a detector's detection range to be measured in light-years. Most of these detectors are restricted, not for sale, and cannot be bought with money. When Luoxia and the others heard about Rorschach's detector range, they all murmured in their hearts, "The origin of this Charlotte is definitely not simple." "The detection range of your detector is really large," Swain said in surprise. Luoxia smiled, looked at Yanji, and asked, "Captain, what should we do now?" Yanji pondered slightly, thought for a while, and said, "Now that the target's location has been detected in advance, it will be easy to handle next. When we get closer, we will see who it is. If it is a foreign enemy, we will immediately surround and kill him. The alien enemies are all military meritorious. And according to Rorschach, there is only one immortal strongman. There are so many people here, and her Yanji is very powerful, they are enough to surround and kill an immortal strongman. Even if the strength of the immortal strongman reaches the Feng Hao level, he is not afraid." So Rorschach and the others continued to move forward to a distance of 10,000 light-years. In the spaceship, Yanji asked Luoxia, "Has the position of the immortal strongman changed?" Rorschach shook his head slightly, "No change." Polo analyzed, "On such a battlefield, it is very dangerous to stay in place. I guess that the immortal strongman may have been injured, or a very serious injury, otherwise he would not have stayed in place." "It's very possible." Yanji nodded, put away the spaceship, and said to Luoxia and the others, "Let's be careful and approach slowly, so as not to be discovered by the immortal powerhouse." At this time, they were less than 1,000 kilometers away from the immortal powerhouse. Luoxia looked towards the location of the immortal powerhouse and found that it was an abandoned spaceship, at least 1,000 meters long, extremely tattered, and floating quietly in the cold and dark universe. "He's on that broken spaceship," Rorschach explained to his teammates via voice transmission. Yanji and the others nodded, only to hear Swain say, "Our intelligence did not receive the message. We can confirm that the other party is a foreign immortal." On the human side, because the virtual universe spreads throughout the universe, it has always maintained the advantage of information exchange in this vast battlefield. If both parties are of the same human race, they will receive information from both parties for confirmation after approaching a certain distance. But if it is a foreign race, this step will not be triggered. On the battlefield, Yanji and the others often rely on this method to confirm the identity of the other party. "Get ready, I'll give him a big one." Yanji stared at the spaceship in the distance, and the mark of the law of fire between her eyebrows began to shine. The surging immortal power was compressed and condensed between her hands, forming a terrifying and dazzling fireball. This fireball is extremely hot and terrifying. It is like a star that has been shrunk countless times. It is compressed to an almost extreme fireball. The energy fluctuations it emits shake the surrounding space, causing ripples like water ripples. Drink! Yanji shouted and threw the terrifying fireball in her hand. Wow! The moment the fireball flew out, it shattered the space along the way, forming a pitch-black space crack, which was terrifying. Boom! Like teleporting, the fireball instantly hit the spacecraft. Luoxia and the others were in the dark and cold universe, and could not hear any sound at all, but the next moment, a dazzling fire suddenly lit up in their sight. When the space was broken and turbulent, a silver figure flew out of the fire. It's the immortal of the demon race. Polo was sharp-eyed and immediately recognized the silver figure. The figure was about 6 or 7 meters tall, like a dinosaur on Earth, with silver skin all over the body and ferocious and terrifying spikes on its back. The spikes were golden, like golden swords inserted into its back. It's still a silver gold demon beast. Yanji has served in this first battlefield for nearly 10,000 years. She recognized the immortal race of this demon beast at the first time, and her expression was extremely solemn. This silver gold demon beast is not easy to mess with. Because the silver gold demon beast is a very powerful demon beast in the demon race, and its strength is very strong. Ordinary immortal level silver gold demon beasts can fight with other powerful demons of the marquee level, and they will not lose. This silver gold monster is already injured. Luoxia, who had been silent all this time, suddenly said at this time. She was very sensitive to the breath of life. In her perception, the breath of life of this silver gold monster was constantly declining. In the distance, the silver gold monster had noticed Luoxia and the others. Its golden pupils flowed with extremely resentful emotions, and then it swung its tail and turned into a silver light, and ran away without thinking. It wants to run. Where to go? Stop him. When Yanji launched the attack, Luoxia and the others were ready. Seeing that the silver gold monster was about to run, the rock-like giant mountain immediately roared, and the cocky light burst out. He was like a meteor, bombarding the silver gold monster. This bombardment naturally could not hit the silver gold monster. But after approaching the silver gold monster, the cocky light on the giant mountain suddenly spread, and the power of the law of earth permeated. In an instant, the silver gold monster was shrouded by the cocky light, and the whole body seemed to be trapped in a quagmire, unable to move. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo-Yoon Song. Chapter 213. Although the earth yellow light of the giant mountain could catch up with the silver gold monster, it was only trapped for less than a second before the silver gold monster broke free. But this is enough time. The blue-haired Polo wore a red armor and held a spear in his hand, with red flames burning on the tip of the spear. The moment the silver gold monster broke through the earth yellow light, he walked away with his gun. The tip of the spear broke through the air, the flames burned the void, and with the terrifying power of law, it pierced the silver gold monster. Roar! The silver gold demon beast flicked its tail and struck Polo's spear. In an instant, Polo was knocked backwards rapidly, crashing into several meteorite continents along the way. The move Swayan prepared at this time also hit the silver gold monster. I saw a water bubble falling on the body of the silver gold monster, completely covering it. The golden eyes of the silver gold demonic beast condensed, and just as he was about to burst the bubbles and continue to escape, vines suddenly grew out of the water pool, completely binding him. It can be seen that the mark of the law of the origin of wood between Luoxia's eyebrows is flickering. The vines that suddenly grew out of the blisters were exactly her technique. But how could these little tricks stop the silver gold monster? The blisters and rattan were torn to pieces with the sharp claws of this immortal demon. He straightened up and was about to run away. But after he flew out, he found a red-haired man in front of him. But it was Rorschach who stood in front of the silver gold monster. Roar! The silver gold demonic beast roared with stern eyes. Seeing that Luoxia was just a realm master, it rushed towards Luoxia without dodge, wanting to kill him, and then continued to run away. Fire slash! Luoxia shouted, and at some point there was a long knife in his hand. The flames on the knife were blazing, and he slashed it down, carrying the majestic power of law. In an instant, the dark and cold universe seemed to turn into a sea of fire. The eldest brother Luo Feng is a swordsman. Luoxia often sparries with Luo Feng, and his own sword skills are certainly not bad. When used at this time, the sword is powerful, and with the blessing of the power of law, it seems to split the universe. In the feeling of the silver gold monster, the sword has not yet come, but it already has the illusion that it has been split in half. It was horrified in its heart. It didn't expect that the red-haired world lord would be so powerful. The silver gold monster wanted to dodge, but the fierce flames blocked all the directions it could dodge the moment the sword was drawn out. Damn it, this is a human realm lord who can rival the immortal. The silver gold monster was frightened and angry. Seeing that he could not avoid it, he could only take it head on. Because the demon clan is born with a strong body, they rarely use weapons. In their view, their own bodies are their greatest weapons. So at this time, the silver gold monster shouted, its claws glowed with a strange light, and it raised its claws to face Rorschach's blade. Bang! The moment the two collided, Luoxia's sword force suddenly changed, grazing the silver gold monster's claws and slashing towards its arm. The silver gold monster didn't expect that Rorschach's sword could change in such a strange way, and had no time to react. With a muffled sound, its front paws were cut off, thrown into the air, and then burned away by the flames of the blade. Human! The silver gold monster roared. Its front claws grew out quickly, but it would be an absolute shame to have its claws cut off by a human realm master. But after roaring, the silver gold monster still retained the last trace of reason. It is very clear that if it stays here any longer, it will probably perish here. In its current situation, it is simply unable to fight against the two immortals, referring to Flame Fairy and Rorschach. Although Luoxia is only at the 9th level of Realm Lord, the strength he has shown is enough to compare with ordinary immortal gods. If it hadn't been for the silver gold monster being seriously injured in a fierce battle with a mechanical immortal before meeting Rorschach and the others, it would definitely have gone on a killing spree and cut Rorschach and the others into pieces. But now, it's better to run. The silver gold monster exploded with power, and the moment its claws grew, it blasted out with one claw, avoiding Rorschach. Immediately afterwards, its aura surged, and it looked like it was going to fight Rorschach, but it instantly turned into silver light. Flash into the distance. Still want to run. However, a passionate laughter sounded, and then the silver gold monster discovered that a field of law had enveloped it, and the surrounding turned into a sea of fire, burning its body and scorching its soul. Death, Yanji shouted, controlling the field of law to suppress the silver gold monster, and the raging flames burned its body. Surprisingly, the fierce flames did not damage the body of the silver gold monster at all, but the silver gold monster showed an extremely painful expression. The captain's flame is a very special kind of flame. It is born with the Red Rock tribe. It can burn the soul. Seeing Polo's curiosity, Swain explained. At this time, they all surrounded the silver gold monster to prevent it from escaping. But in fact, this silver gold monster was at the end of its strength long ago. It had been seriously injured before, and 60% of its divine body was lost. Otherwise it wouldn't stay in the same place. As an immortal demon clan that hangs out in this first battlefield, The silver gold demon beast is very aware of the horror of the first battlefield. If you stay in the same place all the time, you will easily be attacked by others. But it can't help it. If you don't find this place to recover from the injury, it will really die. The immortal method of that mechanical race is very vicious. It contaminates its body cells with a kind of information virus unique to the mechanical race. If it cannot force this information virus out of the body, it will lose more and more divine bodies. It stayed in that spaceship before to force the information virus out of the body. But who would have thought that Rorschach and the others would find traces of it 10,000 light-years away? The silver gold demonic beast was suppressed by Yanji using the law field at this time, and could not escape at all. Its golden eyes are extremely fierce. Seeing that it could not escape, it suddenly gave up its struggle. Damn humans! Bury with me! The silver gold monster roared, and an extremely terrifying energy wave suddenly erupted from the deepest part of its body. Yanji shouted, "Run! It's going to explode!" Rorschach and the others did not dare to stay any longer, and immediately fled frantically into the distance. This is the self-destruction of the immortal god? Terrifying power. It's definitely not something people like them can resist. Boom. Like a supernova exploding, terrifying energy exploded in an instant. A dazzling light lit up in the dark universe, and then the surging energy tide enveloped countless space debris, forming a magnificent but dangerous scene that spread to all directions. Rorschach saw with his own eyes that huge meteorites with a diameter of hundreds of kilometers were annihilated and dissipated under this energy tide. Fortunately, when I killed those feudal lords and immortal kings, I used creation of heaven and earth. Otherwise, if they had used this self-destruction move, I would have died too. Rorschach flew nearly 1,000,000 kilometers before stopping. He looked at the area where the silver gold demonic beast self-destruct from a distance, feeling very happy in his heart. The power of this immortal god's self-destruction is too great. Is everything okay? Yanji asked in the communication. It's okay, Rorschach replied. Others also responded, only Polo ran a little slower and was a little injured, but the problem was not serious. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 214. What a pity. Yanji looked at the spot where the silver gold monster had self-destructed with some regret. If it hadn't exploded, the body of the silver gold monster would be worth a lot of money, no worse than an ordinary treasure. She shook her head and said, "Forget it, Immortal is going to self-destruct. We really have nothing to do. At least we have gained a lot of military glory." Luo Xia looked at the 30 million military merits he had just received and nodded. Killing the Realm Lord is worth 100,000 to 10 million military credits. Immortality is a military merit of 100 million to 1,000 trillion. But if you want to get 1,000 trillion military merits, you must kill the immortal at the peak of the title of king to get it. And the general immortal king is at his peak, and his strength is already very close to that of the Lord of the universe. This kind of immortality is very difficult to kill. Last time Rorschach was able to kill 2 immortal kings at once, he relied on the heaven-defying secret method given by the original universe, the creation of the world. Let's go, let's continue to Titan. Yanji released the spaceship and greeted Luo Xia and the others. The fighting here probably attracted the attention of others. It's not safe. We have to leave as soon as possible. The following words are naturally addressed to the 2 newbies, Rorschach and Polo. A group of people didn't stop any longer, and quickly boarded the spacecraft, far away from the starry sky. Not long after Rorschach and the others left, a golden pyramid spaceship arrived in the starry sky. I saw many mechanical puppets flying out of the spacecraft. In the inner space of the pyramid, a tall mechanical immortal made a voice. A feudal-level immortal monster self-destruct here. The immortal demon race was seriously injured before this battle. Inference, according to the information that can be found at the scene, the immortal of the demon clan encountered an immortal of our clan before and was implanted with an information virus. Deduction, the immortal demon clan was accidentally discovered by human warriors. It wanted to escape but couldn't. One of them is a feudal lord level immortal, and the other four are world lord level teammates. There is a realm master who has ordinary immortal level combat power. This mechanical immortal seemed to have witnessed the battle at that time. In a short time, relying on the information collected by the mechanical puppet, he restored the situation of the entire battlefield to an exact degree. Evaluation, the target is worth hunting. Finally, the immortal mechanical race obtained all the information they could get from the battlefield and confirmed the next action target. It put away the mechanical puppet, then controlled the spacecraft to chase Rorschach and the others in the direction they were traveling. On the other side, Rorschach and his spaceship moved forward slowly. At this time, their spaceship has entered the dark universe, which is relatively safe, so everyone is sitting in the F9 level living room, and the atmosphere is relatively relaxed. Swayan was still chattering. Of course it's not nonsense, but some information and experience on Titan. Rorschach and Polo were listening carefully. Yanji on the side was leaning on the sofa and closing her eyes to rest. When she fought against the immortal silver and gold demonic beast of the demon clan, she was very exhausted and now she was in urgent need of recovery. Sudden alarm! Alarm! There was a harsh sound in the spacecraft. Rorschach and the others reacted immediately. Armor appeared on their bodies and they took out their weapons. Immediately afterwards, before they could fly out of the spacecraft, the sound of bombing rang out. Almost immediately, the outer spacecraft shattered. Only the living room space in level F9 is still intact. Captain Yanji's expression changed and she shouted, "Get out quickly." Staying in an F9 level living room is like a turtle in a urn, and you must get out immediately. Naturally, Luoxia and the others did not dare to delay, and immediately flew out from the opened hatch. They appeared in the starry sky. Yanji put away the living room components and looked around warily. But apart from the chaotic meteorites and spaceship ruins, they could not see the enemy who attacked them. "Charlotte, can your detector detect the enemy?" Yanji asked. Rorschach shook his head, "It can't be detected. The other party has very high concealment skills." Swayan said solemnly, "If even your detector can't detect it, it seems that the opponent we face this time is the enemy of the mechanical race. As we all know, the technology of the mechanical tribe is the most powerful in the entire universe. Not one of them. Even the human race is crushed by the machine race in many aspects of technology. The detector Rorschach bought was indeed good enough, but the technology of the mechanical tribe was higher, and it was too easy to avoid being discovered." At this time, Polo asked the Captain Yanji, "Captain, we can't find the enemy, do we want to escape?" Yanji shook her head slightly, "You can't escape from the mechanical tribe. Their tracking technology is higher than that of the demon tribe, and the performance of the spaceship is much more powerful than the E9 class spacecraft. We can only respond as usual now. Wanbian. Brace yourselves, the enemies of the mechanical tribe are very difficult to deal with." "Yes, Captain." Rorschach and the others responded in agreement, then stood back to back and scanned all directions cautiously. In this universe, there is no distinction between up, down, left and right. Rorschach and the others cannot stand in a circle, but in a spherical shape, so that they can take care of all aspects of movement. Time passed little by little. The immortal machine race that attacked Rorschach and the others was very patient. It did not appear immediately, but kept wearing away Rorschach's patience and energy with invisible pressure. "This is not the way to go." Polo suddenly sent a message to other teammates. Swayan asked, "Do you have a way to make the enemy appear?" Polo said, "It must be waiting for us to show a flaw, so let's show it a flaw." "That's a good idea." Yanji nodded and agreed to Polo's plan. Luoxia narrowed his eyes and suddenly said, Something is coming. The taciturn Jushin said at this time, it seems that we don't have to deliberately show a flaw. Haha. Polo smiled awkwardly and looked at the things that suddenly appeared. What is that? Captain Yanji's expression was very solemn. It's a puppet of the mechanical family. Judging from the material, it's an F-level metal puppet. These puppets are all silver white. When they were about 100 kilometers away from Luoxia and his team, they suddenly glowed with golden light, and then, a series of laser shells shot towards Luoxia and his team like meteors. Who? Jushin suddenly shouted, and stood out from the crowd. His huge palm slapped in the void. In an instant, a huge mountain range suddenly appeared in the void. Boom boom boom. The mechanical puppet's laser shells bombarded the mountains, shattering the heavy mountains. Although the giant mountain's means could not stop these laser shells, it also gave Luoxia and his team time and space to evade. At the moment the mountains were shattered, Luoxia and his team immediately dodged and rushed towards the mechanical puppets at the same time. Flame slash. Luoxia used his sword skills, and the law of fire was added to the blade. With one slash, the flames rushed. Boom. A mechanical puppet was slashed by Luoxia, and with a click, the blade was stuck on the body of the mechanical puppet. It's worthy of being an F-level metal puppet. Luoxia sighed in his heart, but his hands were not slow, increasing the output of the flames. Under the flames that burned and twisted the space, the body of the puppet was successfully cut in half by him. Sister G, help! At this time, Luoxia heard Shui Yin's cry for help. He looked in the direction of the sound and saw Shui Yin frantically parrying the attack of a mechanical puppet. This F-level mechanical puppet was powerful enough to rival a realm lord. Although Shui Yin had been recognized by the law of the origin of water, her strength was still far from that of a realm lord, and she was simply unable to fight against a mechanical puppet. At this time, she was already in danger. The other people in the team were in a similar situation to Shui Yin, and only Polo's situation was slightly better. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 215. Captain Yanji heard Shui Yin's plea for help and wanted to save her, but she was besieged by thousands of mechanical puppets and could not get over for a while. Writing this, I hope readers will remember our domain name Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. I am coming. Luoxia shouted and rushed towards Shui Yin. Along the way, he slashed a mechanical puppet until it exploded. He rushed to Shui Yin's side in less than a breath, waved his hand, and took her into the world ring. Rorschach didn't stop and flew towards the giant mountain and Luoxia. He was very fast. Although he did not show his full speed, he arrived at the location of Jushin and Luoxia in an instant. At this time, 3 mechanical puppets were besieging Jushin and Luoxia. In this team, Jushin is responsible for protecting Luoxia. The role of Luoxia is to contain the opponent on the field. She can control a special plant, which is very similar to the Moyun vine. During the show, the vines fill the void, which can block the enemy's position and limit the enemy's attack. Output. But that can only be done when facing enemies of the same level. Now Luoxia was facing a mechanical puppet whose combat power was equivalent to that of the World Lord's General. The vines she released had no effect at all and could be cut off by the puppet in an instant. If it weren't for the giant mountain guarding her, the mechanical puppet would have killed her long ago. When Luoxia approached, Jushin was almost unable to withstand it and his body was covered with injuries. Get away! Rorschach shouted loudly, slashed out his sword, and the flames were blazing, forcing the besieging mechanical puppets back. Then he swept away with his big foot and kicked away the rushing mechanical puppets. Then, Rorschach took back Jushin and Luoxia. Enter the world ring. Not far away, Polo was also struggling to hold on. Although his strength has reached the Realm Master War General level, there is still a gap between the strength of top Realm Master War Generals like Luoxia. He can deal with the attacks of the mechanical clan puppets, but he cannot kill the mechanical puppets. As long as the mechanical puppet has an energy supply, it will not be tired or afraid. Under their fierce attack, Polo was almost unable to withstand it. Rorschach rushed towards Polo, joined forces with him, and killed the besieging mechanical puppets, and then asked, "Do you want to enter the world ring?" Polo nodded, "Please, partner." He knew very well that staying in the battlefield would only cause chaos for Luoxia and Yanji. Rorschach nodded and took Polo into the ring. This is the reason why the team on the first battlefield does not recruit more players. On the battlefield, players with insufficient strength can easily perish, and can easily become a burden to the captain and other team members. "Captain, let me help you." Rorschach rushed towards Flame Fairy, who was surrounded by mechanical puppets. The interior of the pyramid ship. The scene on the battlefield appeared in front of the immortal machine race. Analysis: the appearance is 20% similar to Rorschach. Strength: the Realm Master Warrior recognized by the law of the origin of fire has combat power that rivals ordinary immortals. It is far from the strength that Rorschach once showed. Conclusion: 10% chance it's Rorschach. Battlefield analysis: killing an ordinary world leader and a human immortal god requires a large amount of mechanical puppets and resources, and the losses outweigh the gains. Conclusion: it's time to retreat. After an analysis, the immortal mechanical race gave the signal to the mechanical puppets on the battlefield to retreat. These mechanical puppets were created by consuming a lot of resources. Now more than a dozen of them have been destroyed by Rorschach and the others. If they continue to fight, it will do more harm than good. It retreated decisively. After all, the Realm Master Warrior in front of him didn't look like Rorschach. At that time, it caught up, mainly because it suspected that the world leader in the human team who could rival the immortal gods was Luoxia. At this time, it was discovered that Rorschach was not Rorschach, so the fight could no longer continue. If you want to kill a team like Rorschach, you must at least unite with others and kill them together to gain any benefit. As the current battle continues, even if it wins in the end, it will be a loss-making business. The mechanical race is a race that is good at deduction and calculation. They often take action only when they reach the conclusion that they have made a lot of money through calculation. Luoxia had just defeated a mechanical puppet and was about to rush into the encirclement to fight alongside Flame Fairy. These mechanical puppets suddenly retreated and flew into the distance. Their speed was so fast that they disappeared from the sight of Luoxia and Yanji in an instant. Rorschach couldn't help but feel puzzled and asked, "Why did they withdraw?" Yanji squinted her eyes and looked at the direction where the mechanical puppet disappeared. After a while, she saw no movement there, and then she said, "The immortal mechanical race that attacked us should be a lone traveler. It probably concluded that the outcome of the battle with us was not good, so it retreated directly." "Ah, is this the fighting style of the mechanical tribe?" Rorschach said. To be honest, this was the first time he encountered a mechanical race, and he didn't know much about their fighting style. "This is the fighting style of the mechanical race." Yanji began to explain to Luoxia, "These mechanical tribes will send out various mechanical puppets at the beginning to obtain any information about the enemy, and then they will use this information to deduce. If the conclusion of the deduction is good enough, they will continue to fight. If the conclusion of the deduction is not ideal, they will retreat." Luoxia said, "In other words, the machine race only fights battles that are sure to win." "You summed it up well." Yanji smiled, "the machine race really only fights battles that are sure to win. And because they are naturally intelligent life forms, they can take out hundreds of them in an instant for the same event. Even thousands of plans and programs come." Sighing, Yanji continued, "It can be said that the mechanical tribe is the most difficult enemy on the battlefield, sometimes more difficult than the Zerg tribe. Because you don't know what else they can come up with after a plan is completed. Plan comes. Batman." Rorschach murmured in his heart, released all his teammates in the World Ring, and asked, "Are you okay?" Polo and the others suffered a lot of injuries. Fortunately, the World Lord's body is strong enough. As long as there is enough world power, the injuries sustained can be recovered quickly. "It's nothing serious." Swain shook his head and said to Luoxia, "Charlotte, thank you this time. Without you, I might have perished." "Thank you." Jushin and Losha, who were not good at words, also thanked Rorschach. Polo also smiled and said, "You saved my life. If you need anything in the future, just come to me. If you can help me, I will definitely help. We are all teammates, no need to be so polite." Luoxia smiled slightly and said to everyone. Yanji took out a new spaceship, loaded it with the F9 level living room, and called to everyone, "Let's leave quickly. On this first battlefield, we can't stay where we are. It's easy to be discovered and attacked." "Yes, Captain." Rorschach and the others flew into the spacecraft and continued flying towards Titan. Along the way, they encountered many enemies. It has to be said that this first battlefield is indeed the most terrifying war zone. The enemies Luoxia and the others encountered were basically immortals, and a few world masters were also very powerful. Rorschach did not provoke those immortals who had teammates. But they will not let go of some weak realm owners. Along the way, after killing 2 immortals and more than a dozen world leaders, Luoxia's military merits have reached more than 120 million. Has Rorschach come to the battlefield outside the territory? "Master, the news is confirmed. Luoxia has set out from his hometown long ago and entered the battlefield outside the territory. However, it is still unclear which battlefield he is in. We must kill him before he rises. Increase my efforts and make sure to find him." "Yes." Similar conversations happened one after another among alien races. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 216. The aliens are looking for Rorschach. Perform. They all knew that Rorschach must have gone to the battlefield outside the territory. But what surprised them was that until now, there was no trace of Rorschach. It's incredible. A genius as dazzling as Rorschach would be very eye-catching if he appeared on the battlefield outside the territory. But now, they have no news at all. Of course Rorschach knew how hated his identity was. Now he changes his body shape and aura, but he uses the innate secret method of the Demon Killer clan's clone. As long as the divine power is not deliberately probed into his body, his true identity will basically not be discovered. Especially to hide your identity. He also sealed his other 9 laws, only revealing the mark of the original law of fire. No matter how much the aliens thought, they would never have imagined that Rorschach would be so bold. On this terrifying battlefield, he dared to seal his own power and only use the power of the law of fire to fight his way through. But Rorschach was thoughtful. In addition to his original earthly self, he now has 3 clones, a golden-horned behemoth clone, a destroyer behemoth clone, and a demon-killing clan clone. Even if the Earthling himself dies, as long as the other 3 clones are fine, he will remain immortal. That's why he dared to suppress his own strength and use the power of the origin law of fire to fight in the battlefield outside the territory. Titan is a very special giant planet. Because of the war, this huge and hard planet has been completely destroyed. When Rorschach looked at Titan from the spacecraft, he found that the entire planet was missing 1/6 of its volume. In that dilapidated location, there was a terrifying aura of law lingering. That's the site of the Battle of the Titans. Yanji saw that the 2 new recruits, Luoxia and Polo, were looking at the damaged parts of Titan, so she explained. Back then, the Titan clan was also the overlord in the secret realm of the universe, with powerful men at the level of cosmic masters. That ruined location was destroyed by a battle between the Universe Master from the Titan clan and a Universe Master from the Machine clan. To this day, that place is a desperate place for most world owners and immortals. If many feudal-level immortals dare to step into it, they will be injured by the chaotic and terrifying power of the laws. Rorschach and Polo opened their mouths. Is this a battle at the level of the Lord of the Universe? It turns out that any ruins created can become a Jedi, and after hundreds of millions of epochs have passed, it can actually injure a powerful man of the immortal level. How terrible! Okay, everyone, cheer up. Yanji reminded Luoxia and the others, there are many forces on Titan, including all kinds of alien races. It's best to cheer up. Yes, Rorschach and the others responded. Then, Yanji controlled the spacecraft and found a more secluded location to descend towards Titan. Soon after, the spacecraft parked over a desert. Luoxia and the others all flew out of the spaceship, and then Yanji put the spacecraft away. Rorschach sensed it and found that the gravity on Titan was very strong, at least 1,000,000 times that of the Earth's surface. If they weren't all realm lords, they would have been able to ignore most of the high-strength gravity. Ordinary people, before even getting close to the planet, would be able to squeeze the planet's terrifying gravity into elementary particles. There are many alien immortals on Titan. Swayan introduced to Luoxia and Polo in a low voice in the communication, most of the alien immortals are with teams, and only a few immortals dare to go alone. Of course, the immortals who dare to go alone are very powerful, at least they are all feudal lords. Level of strength. How much military merit is it to kill a feudal-level immortal? Polo asked. Swayan glanced at him and replied, killing a feudal lord is worth 10 billion military merits at the elementary level, 100 billion military merits at the advanced level, and 1 trillion military merits at the peak level. The elementary level is 10 trillion, and 100 trillion at the high level. The peak of immortality is 1,000 trillion military merits. The immortal military merit of killing the peak king is so high, Polo was startled and asked in surprise. Swayan said, isn't that high? That's the immortal at the peak of the title of king. The strength is very close to that of the Lord of the Universe. He has a very powerful immortal body and is very difficult to kill. Polo nodded, understanding. Our target is the immortals who lead the team, Yanji said. Polo was confused again and asked, Captain, doesn't the immortal who leads the team have an army? Aren't we trying to find them in a tiger's mouth? The sheep entering the tiger's mouth is naturally the result of Rorschach's automatic translation after listening to Polo's words. In the cosmic culture, there are no animals such as sheep and tigers. They are all specialties of the earth. Sheep entering tiger's mouth is also a culture bred by the earth. What we want to do is assassination, Yanji replied. The immortal who leads the team is surrounded by many realm lords and domain lord level experts, but it is easier to kill than the immortal who walks alone. As long as he is well prepared, he can find an opportunity to kill. Luoxia also nodded after hearing this. Immortals who can walk alone on the first battlefield all have life-saving means on their bodies. It is very difficult to kill such immortals. As for the immortal who led the team, he obviously didn't have many means to save his life, otherwise he wouldn't have chosen to lead the army. I have sent you the map of Titan finally, Yanji said to Rorschach and Polo. Rorschach lowered his head slightly, and a huge map was immediately projected in his sight. On this map, there are many areas marked. Yanji pointed to the map on the projection and said, we are now in the Sea of Dust on Titan. Next, let's slowly look for targets around here. Luoxia and Polo naturally had no objection. This so-called Sea of Dust is an endless desert. From time to time, there are terrible gusts of wind whistling by, bringing up yellow sand all over the sky. These yellow sands are very hard and terrifying. If they are ordinary universe level, they will be instantly eroded and integrated into the yellow sands after encountering these gusts of wind and yellow sand, becoming part of this desert. Luoxia and his team carefully searched in the Sea of Dust for more than a month before they found a team led by a demon immortal. This demon team is not large in number. At least the number they can see on the surface is very small. An ordinary demon immortal, more than 10 realm masters, plus hundreds of domain masters, and thousands of universe level ones. Looking at the situation of this team, I'm afraid they have encountered a lot of battles before, Yanji said in the communication. Generally speaking, the team led by the Immortal will have 100 Realm Masters, 1000 Domain Masters, and 10,000 Cosmic Level Masters. Looking at the team led by this Demon Immortal, they must have experienced a lot of battles before, otherwise there would not be so few people left. On the battlefield, when you encounter an Immortal leading the team, the rule is basically that Immortals fight Immortals, and the Realm Masters, Domain Masters, and Cosmic Level Masters below fight against enemies of corresponding levels. Shuiyin supplemented to Luoxia and Polo. Luoxia was a little speechless. If they fight like this, is it a war or playing house? In his cognition, war is undoubtedly terrifying. On the battlefield, it doesn't matter what level you are, it should be indiscriminate bombing and killing. Yanji said. The rules are like this, but when fighting, it's a melee. Like the little guys below the Realm Master, the Immortal can take away a large area with a casual wave of his hand. This is the most cruel battlefield. Although the top leaders of each race have reached some compromises in secret, once the fight starts, those rules are just a decoration. She looked at the demon tribe team in the distance and said in the communication, observe for a while, then we will take action directly. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yun Song. Chapter 217. This immortal clan of monsters has been wandering in the Sea of Dust for a long time, especially they have suffered many defeats. At this time, they are stationed, but all of them look depressed. With Luoxia's sharp eyes, he can't see many World Lord level monster clans sighing. This kind of morale is not good. What shall we do later? Polo asked in a low voice. According to the rules of war, we will attack those World Lords, Domain Lords, and Cosmic level monsters. As for the immortal monster, we will leave it to the captain. Yukine said with a smile. Polo looked at the dozen or so boundary lords and swallowed secretly. They have a lot of boundary lords, and, is this considered an assassination? He heard correctly before, they were going to assassinate Immortal. Rather than being so reckless, right? The situation on the battlefield is changing rapidly, Luoxia said with a smile. We need to analyze the specific situation. If the morale of this demon team is high and the number of people is large, we will definitely find a way to assassinate them. As he said that, he pointed at the sluggish demon clan in the distance and continued, but now the morale of these demon clan is low and all of them are injured. It is the best choice for us to just rush out. But Luoxia touched his chin and looked at Swain and the others. Those domain lords and cosmic level demon clan are not something to be afraid of, but the domain lord of this demon clan is indeed a trouble. Swain, you should have some solution, right? Swain and Luoxia suddenly looked at each other, and then Swain said with a smile, let me and Luoxia handle those realm lords. Before you guys came, Luoxia and I did this kind of thing a lot. Rorschach became interested and asked, what method is it? Swain smiled proudly, Lodia and I have a combination of skills that is enough to control those world masters for a short period of time. It should be enough for you to kill the immortals of the demon clan. Luoxia was stunned. Is this martial soul fusion skill necessary? He smiled inwardly and said, it will depend on you and Luoxia later. Swain patted her chest, watch it for us. Luoxia, who was afraid of society, also nodded. Rorschach glanced at Luoxia and didn't know how this woman recognized by the law of origin of wood developed such a temperament. Next, Luo Xia and the others discussed some details of the battle. After a while, Captain Yan Ji said, "Are you ready?" Rorschach and the others nodded silently. "Then take action," she said, waving her hand and launching an attack, blasting towards the place where the demon team was stationed. A small base was spread out where the demon team was. The cost of building this base is not high, so the defense of the base cannot stop the power of Flame Fairy at all, and it was shattered in an instant. At the same time, Rorschach and the others also arrived. Enemy attack. In the monster base, the monsters roared immediately, and the strange-looking monsters rushed towards Luo Xia and the others. At this moment, the power of the world crashed down. But it was Suyen and Luoxia who took action. Luo Xia had also seen their martial soul fusion technique, which was the blisters and vines that controlled the silver gold monster last time. This bubble is like a world created by Yukine. When she cast it, she fell directly from the sky and instantly enveloped many demon clan masters. The demon clan masters were furious and wanted to burst the blisters. But the next moment, seaweed-like plants grew in the water bubbles. They spread in the water bubbles and instantly bound the demon clan leaders who were shrouded in the water bubbles. When these demon clan masters were tied up, their state suddenly changed, and each of them seemed to have fallen into a deep sleep. Rorschach's eyes lit up. Was this an illusion? What a great opportunity, Polo laughed. Isn't the controlled Realm Lord a lamb to be slaughtered? The Realm Lord does not have an immortal body. As long as the core of life is destroyed, you will die immediately. Damn humans. The demon clan's immortal rage, its hands like noodles, bombarded Polo with the terrifying power of law. It has scales on its body and looks very ferocious and strange in appearance. It has 4 limbs and its whole body looks like it has eaten a rubber fruit. It can stretch out like rubber. This is what Yan Ji has been waiting for. Seeing that the immortal demon clan was attracted by Polo and Rorschach, she immediately stepped out, her whole body covered in blazing flames. This demon immortal is just an ordinary immortal. And Yan Ji is a feudal lord level immortal, and it was a sneak attack. How could this demon immortal resist? She didn't react at all, and her huge and ferocious body was bombarded by Yan Ji. In the bursting flames, Yan Ji smiled slightly. The battle was successful. This process may seem a bit redundant, but in fact, less than 2 seconds passed. The demon clan masters controlled by Suyen and Luoxia soon woke up. Their strength is not weak, and they broke free from the control of Yukine and Luoxia in an instant. But at this time, the immortal demon race was dead. What awaits them is the terrifying flames of the immortal god Yan Ji. Boom! Rorschach and the others are fighting. These territory lord level and universe level demon clans are vulnerable to the attacks of these world lords. With a random sweep, a large number of domain lords and cosmic level demon clans fell. And those demon clan masters who broke free from control were also killed by Flame Fairy. Not long after, when the wind carried the yellow sand, this small demon base had been killed by Luo Xia and the others. Jushin was cleaning up the battlefield. Soon after, the Captain Yan Ji distributed the resources harvested on the battlefield according to the rules. Luo Xia took a look and found that they were all ordinary things. If they were sold, they would be worth at most dozens of Hunyuan units. However, even the smallest mosquito is meat, and Luo Xia did not despise it. In addition to the harvest of resources, the most important thing is the harvest of military merit. Unfortunately, the military merit provided by the domain master and the universe level monsters was too little. Even if they assisted Yan Ji in killing the monster immortals, Luo Xia and his team only received a little over 10 million military merits in this battle. In the following days, Luo Xia and his team searched for various immortals in the Sea of Dust to kill. There would be times when they encountered troubles along the way. For example, once, Shuiyin and Jushin were seriously injured and almost died, but they survived in the end. Days passed like this one by one. Just when the alien warriors thought that Luoxia would walk alone in the outer battlefield or lead the army, he always mixed with Yanji and the others. His strength was not strong every time, but he could always turn the tide at the critical moment and saved his teammates several times. In this way, a year passed, and Luoxia finally accumulated enough military merits of 1 billion. As for Polo, he had accumulated enough military merits 3 months after joining. He did not choose to stay in the outer battlefield, but retired. He left the first battlefield directly. According to him, this time to the outer battlefield was an experience given to him by the family. Now that the experience is over, it is time for him to go back. After Polo left, there were only 5 people in the team. But Yanji and Luoxia did not plan to find teammates again. In this way, Luoxia and Yanji formed a team until the 86th year of coming to the outer battlefield. This day, they encountered a terrible crisis at the border of the Sea of Dust. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 218. There are many words on earth that say this. Flying geese all day long, only to be pecked by geese. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. If you always stand by the river, your shoes won't get wet. In the past 86 years, Rorschach and the others have assassinated alien immortals many times. They rarely make mistakes, and even if there is an accident, they can escape. But this time, going through here, we will leave the Sea of Dust and enter the Star Forest. Swayan pointed to the strange forest in the distance and said to Luoxia. Rorschach looked along her finger and saw a dense forest in the distance. These towering trees blocked out the sun, and their leaves were like stars, twinkling and twinkling. It was very strange and dreamy. Somewhat beautiful, Rorschach commented. The whole forest is like a scene in a mythical dream, very beautiful. Yanji said, these star trees are a special product on Titan. They are difficult to destroy even if they are immortal. Some people have tried to take these star trees away from Titan before, but as soon as they left Titan, these star trees were directly annihilated and shattered. It can only exist here. Rorschach was a little surprised, so strange. It's very strange, Swayan nodded with a smile. I heard that even the mechanical tribe can't study the characteristics of the star tree. Luoxia was even more surprised when he heard this. The mechanical race is the race with the highest level of technology in the entire universe. Even they can't study the characteristics of the star tree? The star forest is very dangerous. Not only are there unique Titan beasts and star trees, but there are also immortals from various alien races. We may even encounter the rarely seen king immortals, so we will go in later. Finally, cheer up and be extremely careful. Zhang Yanji reminded. Luoxia and the others nodded. It has been 100 years since they have been together as a team, so it goes without saying that they have a tacit understanding. They soon walked into the star forest. The branches of these star trees are very strange, with a texture like metal and flashing with fluorescent light. They are extremely thick, with the diameter of each tree being no less than 100 meters. Rorschach and the others stepped into it. For a moment, they seemed to be in a universe full of stars. This feeling is very strange. They were not moving fast because the star forest was very dangerous. According to Captain Yanji, even if the immortal king entered this forest, he might fall. After about 3 days of progress, Luoxia suddenly sensed a strong crisis. There was some kind of weird magnetic field in this forest of stars, which made his detector ineffective. It can sense a distance of up to 100 kilometers. But 100 kilometers is just one step away for those who are above the domain master level. Everyone, be careful. Just as Rorschach shouted, a flash of light enveloped them. Immediately afterwards, the attack carrying the power of the law crashed down, so fast that even Rorschach could not react immediately. In just an instant, Luoxia knew in his heart, the enemy attacking them was at least king-level immortal in strength. Yukine and the others couldn't react at all. Seeing that they were about to fall under the enemy's attack, Luoxia no longer cared about hiding his strength and immediately activated the speed field. Buzz. The gray domain power centered on Rorschach's body and spread to all sides. In an instant, it covered a distance of tens of thousands of kilometers all over the body. In the field, everything is gray. Only Rorschach himself still retained his color, his eyes turned bright gold, shining brightly in the gray field. Rorschach looked up and finally saw clearly the enemy attacking them. It was an extremely huge star tree, with a height of tens of thousands of meters, a thick trunk with a diameter of thousands of meters, and the huge crown branches were covered with leaves that looked like stars. Vaguely, you can still see some fruit-like things in the crown of the tree. What attacked Rorschach and the others was a leaf carrying the power of law. It was like a meteor, crashing down, shattering the space along the way, and creating a huge space crack. Receive. Rorschach absorbed Luoxia and the others into the power of the world, and then immediately teleported, tens of thousands of kilometers away in an instant. Boom. When he left the area, the leaves fell with a loud explosion. Like a star bursting, a terrifying energy tide rose up in an area tens of thousands of kilometers in diameter. The space was shattered, and countless space fragments and faults surged with the energy tide, shaking the star trees, but they were not broken. Rorschach looked at the scene of destruction caused by the star tree in amazement. This is a king-level immortal attack. Just a leaf can cause such a terrible scene of destruction. It is really terrifying. He released Captain Yanji and the others, looked at the star tree in the distance, and asked, "Captain, do you know what that is?" Yanji and the others glanced at Luoxia, and first said, "Charlotte, you saved us again." Then they looked towards the star tree. In an instant, Yanji's expression changed, and she said in a trembling voice, "It's the Star Tree King." King of the Star Tree, Luoxia was confused. Suiyan's face turned slightly pale as he explained, "The Star Tree King is the king of the entire star forest. Its strength is equivalent to the peak king level immortal. It is the most dangerous existence in this forest. Anyone who breaks into the star forest and encounters the Star Tree King will be attacked by it." Yanji said, shouting to the others, "We must leave here. The peak immortal king is not something we can deal with." Luoxia glanced at the Star Tree King, and seeing the leaves on the tree crown shining, he immediately said to everyone, "You enter my world ring, I will take you away." Yanji and the others nodded. After nearly 100 years of getting along, they also knew that Luoxia's speed was the fastest among everyone. Even Yanji, who was at the level of a marquis, could not match Luoxia in terms of speed. This was incredible. But Yanji and the others could accept it, thinking that Luoxia might have something that could increase his speed. As teammates, they did not ask too much. Anyway, every time they encountered an unsolvable crisis, Luoxia could lead them to escape safely, so why ask? If you ask too much, you will have a gap in your heart. So Yanji and the others never asked Luoxia about Luoxia. Luoxia put Yanji and the others into the world ring again, and then prepared to teleport and escape from this area. However, buzz! A strange wave suddenly spread around the Star Tree King. Then, the area with a diameter of trillions was blocked, and teleportation and other spatial abilities could not be used at all. Luoxia's face changed and he looked at the Star Tree King. This Star Tree King is the same as other star trees, but it is taller and has thicker branches. If it does not move, it will be the same as ordinary star trees. It is going to kill them all. Luoxia muttered, looking at the Star Tree King, but he was a little confused. The war in the first battlefield has lasted for an unknown number of years. The strong men of humans and other alien races have exterminated the Titans. Why are these star trees still left? Thank you, book friend 201812300046135995 for the 100 starting coins. Thank you very much. At the same time, thank you to all the book friends who subscribed and voted. Thank you very much. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 219. The Star Forest is extremely vast and vast. In a corner of the Star Forest, a mechanical immortal king noticed the riot of the Star Tree King. It flew up and stood on the crown of an extremely tall star tree, looking in the direction of the Star Tree King riot. Someone provoked the Star Tree King. According to the data collected in the past, the death rate of enemies who provoke the Star Tree King is as high as 99%. This Star Tree King has some kind of blessing in this forest. Although its own energy level is at the peak of the Immortal King level, the strength it exerts is enough to rival the Universe Master. The mechanical immortal thought. After tens of thousands of years of research, it was found that the Star Tree King has some kind of connection with this strange forest. It seems to be guarding something. Unfortunately, after endless years, even if the Universe Master came to this area, he still couldn't find the secret of this forest. Guess, the secret may be in the Star Tree King. Probability, 30%. But the Star Tree King seems to have no wisdom and no possibility of communication. Conclusion, continue research and look for opportunities. After some analysis, the mechanical immortal returned to his research base and continued his previous research. In this vast forest, most of the strong men sensed the riot of the Star Tree King. They all felt very strange. It seems like tens of thousands of years have passed since the last appearance of the Star Tree King. During that Star Tree King riot, it was a demon clan immortal king who took the initiative to provoke it, but was directly beaten by the Star Tree King and didn't even have a chance to revive. I wonder who provoked the Star Tree King this time. No matter who it is, the guy who provoked the Star Tree King is definitely dead. Some immortals knew each other and whispered to each other. They have been active in this Star Forest for many years and know how powerful the Star Tree King is. They usually don't dare to provoke it. At this time, sensing the riot of the Star Tree King, they all subconsciously stayed away. On Luosia's side, he found that he could not teleport, so he could only use the speed field and the divine wind leg to escape. However, before he ran for long, an extremely huge suction force suddenly appeared. Luoxia was startled and looked back. He saw that the Star Tree King flashed behind Luoxia at some point. A terrifying black hole appeared on the huge tree crown. The black hole burst out with unparalleled suction, and the surrounding time and space were directly distorted. It's over. Such a thought came to Luoxia's mind. The next moment, before he could react, the terrifying suction sucked him into the black hole. Under the terrifying pressure, Luoxia's body was almost broken. If it weren't for his life gene reaching 1408 times, I'm afraid that his body would collapse directly at the first time. Luoxia had no idea that the Star Forest would be so dangerous. Encountered such a desperate situation just after entering. The Star Tree King seemed to teleport and came behind him in an instant. The means like a black hole were even more terrifying. Although Luoxia's current law perception was enough to rival the Lord of the Universe, and he could burst out all his strength to fight against many immortal kings, he couldn't react instantly to the sudden black hole attack of the Star Tree King. 10,000 miles underground in the sea of dust, a huge monster suddenly opened its eyes, and its dark golden pupils glowed with a faint golden light in the dark underground. It seems that the clone of the Demon Killer clan is about to fall. This huge monster is Luoxia's golden horned giant clone. Alas, I am still a little too proud. If I were careful enough, I should have teleported away quickly when I was attacked, instead of letting Captain Yanji and the others out to ask about the Star Tree King. In the inner world of the golden horned giant clone, Luoxia's earthling original body reflected. After Logosya entered the Sea of Dust, he found an opportunity to release the Golden Horned Giant clone and hid it underground on Titan. Then he placed his Earthling original body in the inner world of the Golden Horned Giant, let the clone of the Demon Killer clan change into his own appearance, and go to act with Yanji and the others. This first battlefield is too dangerous. Logosya doesn't want to die in a muddle. His clone has different talents from the clone of the Golden Horned Beast. If the original Earthling really died, he would really die. At that time, he could only use the clone of the Golden Horned Beast as his main body. Logosya didn't want this. So he hid his original Earthling and the clone of the Golden Horned Beast, and let the clone of the Demon Killer clan change into his appearance and go out. Because of the clone of the Demon Killer clan's copying talent, Yanji and others have been unable to detect it for so many years. It's a pity that Yanji and Losha and others, under the terrifying attack of the Star Tree King, they have almost no chance of survival. Logosya sighed and was about to commemorate the death of Yanji and others. Suddenly, his expression changed slightly. The clone of the Demon Killer clan is not dead. His consciousness instantly descended on the clone of the Demon Killer clan. In a strange space filled with the terrifying power of time and space, a shining star tree grew on an extremely huge corpse. This corpse is tens of thousands of light years long. Although it is dead, it still exudes an extremely terrifying aura. The surrounding time and space are distorted under the influence of this corpse. Where is this place? Rorschach looked at the huge corpse and the star tree in horror. This is my inheritance space, little guy. A voice suddenly sounded, and then Rorschach saw that the starlight condensed on the crown of the star tree and turned into a white-haired old man. The old man looked very similar to an Earthling, with a star tree mark between his eyebrows. The star tree mark had 10 branches, and on each branch, there was a mark of the origin law. The mark was like a fruit, making the star tree mark shine. Inheritance space. Rorschach was startled, then looked at the old man and asked carefully, "You are?" The old man looked at Rorschach. His eyes seemed to be looking from the end of time. Although he was looking at Rorschach's Demon Killer clone, Rorschach felt that the old man was looking at his original Earthling body hidden in the clone of the Golden Horned Beast. "You can call me Star God King," the old man said leisurely. "You can also call me Titan Lord." Star God King. Titan Lord. Rorschach was shocked. "You can't just call me God King." Being called Star God King means that the old man in front of him was once a God King. If Rorschach remembered correctly, that was the top fighting force on the Origin continent. The founder of their Earth lineage, Zoshank, was once a God King on the Origin continent. Swallowed Star, my understanding is beyond belief. Author, Bo Yoon Song. Chapter 220. Rorschach looked at the old man in surprise. Could it be that the old man meant that the Star Tree King suddenly attacked them? The method of the Star Tree King was too powerful and strange, and I was afraid it was the old man's method. No wonder I can't resist it. Taiwan Novel Network Rightward Arrow. This is a figure at the level of a God King. With his current strength, he is nothing more than an ant in front of such a figure. The thoughts in Logosya's heart flashed over and over in an instant. He looked at the old man in front of him and asked cautiously, "Then shall I call you the Star God King?" When the old man heard this title, he thought for a while and suddenly sighed, "Forget it, just call me the Lord of Titans. The Star God King was my identity a long time ago." "Oh." Logosya murmured in his heart, "It seems that this old man, like the mountain guest, has fallen from the position of God King. Judging from his current name, it is very possible that the Titan clan on the Titan planet may be him. Created. Lord of the Titans, you said this is the inheritance space?" Logosya asked. The old man looked at Logosya, smiled, and nodded while stroking the long beard on his chin. He was very fairy-like, like an immortal in Earth mythology. "Yes, this is my inheritance space. For endless years, I have been looking for a successor who meets my requirements, but billions of epochs have passed, and you are the only one who has barely met my requirements. Rorschach asked curiously, what do you always want? The old man smiled and said, it's actually not that high. I have obtained the origin recognition of all basic laws at the World Lord level. Rorschach. Isn't this too demanding? That is to say, he is a time traveler. After time traveling, his soul is somehow extremely powerful, and his understanding is unparalleled. Only then can he obtain the recognition of the 10 basic origin laws at the World Lord level. Be someone else. For example, Luo Feng. Like Luo Feng, he is a top-level existence in the original work. His understanding is not low, right? However, during the Realm Lord period, the original law of gold and the original law of space were recognized. And being able to achieve this achievement is inseparable from the clones of the golden horned giant beast and the demon-killing clan that he possesses. In this universe, basically no one with insufficient understanding or talent can obtain the recognition of the 10 basic origin laws at the World Lord level. Because this requirement is the minimum standard for true God level, the strongest person in the universe. If you want to become the strongest person in the universe, you must fully understand the 8 lower laws and the 2 upper laws. And for people like Rorschach who are recognized by the 10 basic original laws, it is very easy to fully understand them. At least compared to others, Rorschach is only one step away from enlightenment. As long as he is willing to take that step, he can instantly break through the realm and become immortal. But Rorschach is not willing to give in. The eldest brother Luo Feng has already found an invincible path in the original work. As long as Luo Xia follows the path of the original eldest brother, he will be 100% on the path to being strong. Therefore, when the life gene has not reached the perfect level, he will not break through immortality. Your requirements are not low, Luo Xia said with a smile. The old man smiled and did not refute. The sentence actually not high just now was just a joke. I thought that in such a vast universe, there would be a few people with incredible understanding. But in the past billions of epochs, I have only met you. I am lucky. Luo Xia looked at the old man and asked, so you always plan to make me your successor? What? The old man looked at Rorschach, aren't you willing? Luo Xia also looked at the old man and said, this is pie in the sky, of course I am willing. He knew very well that with his current strength, he did not have the confidence to negotiate terms in front of the old man. If the old man really wanted to do something to him, he wouldn't have to show up at all. He could just rely on the Star Tree King's methods to kill Luo Xia or seize his body. Of course, after saying this, Rorschach also had another idea in mind. The idea is simple. That is, if the old man really wants to do something like seizing a body, he will immediately self-destruct. Isn't it just a demon-slaying clone? Even if it self-destructs, because it is a clone conceived by the golden horned giant beast, it can be regestated in the inner world of the golden horned giant beast later. So Rorschach is very confident. Anyway, his earthly self and golden horned behemoth clone are both underground on Titan, far away from the Star Forest. And based on the previous methods of the Star Tree King, Rorschach could probably guess that the Titan Lord's influence was, at best, in the Star Forest, and could not affect the Sea of Dust. It's pie in the sky. This was the first time the old man heard this. He didn't know what a pie was, but from Rorschach's tone, he probably knew the meaning of what he said, so a happy smile appeared on his old face. He looked at Luo Xia and said, it is not easy to accept my inheritance. Let me help you send out the companions in the world ring first. The old man said, waved his hand, and a force of time and space left the inheritance space with the world ring in Rorschach's hand. I sent them to the edge of the Star Forest. Don't worry, they will be safe. Thank you, Lord Titan. Rorschach thanks. The old man nodded, looked at Luo Xia and said, if you want to accept my inheritance, You only need to do one thing. What's the matter? Luoxia asked curiously. The old man pointed to the star tree under him. This tree is very large. The diameter of the crown alone is tens of thousands of light years. The trunk is thick and has 10 branches, on which hang fruits of 10 different colors. Become the owner of this tree, the old man said lightly, as if this is a very simple thing. But Luoxia knew it very well. If he knew it, the old man would not have been unable to find a successor for billions of epochs. Luoxia looked at the huge star tree for a long time before he asked, "What should I do?" "It's very simple, just carry it on your back," the old man said. Luoxia blinked his eyes. This tree is huge, even bigger than many stars. His current body is smaller than dust in front of this tree. How to carry it? Luoxia looked at the old man, but saw that the old man closed his eyes, as if he didn't want to answer any more. He knew that the old man's test had begun. But how to carry it? Luoxia was really dumbfounded. He scratched his head, looked at the star tree rooted in the giant's body, thought about it, and flew to the root of the tree. The exposed root system of the star tree is also huge, like a mountain range, winding and twisting. Luoxia tried to put his hand on the exposed root of the star tree. The next moment, he suddenly shook his whole body, and the 10 long marks at the center of his eyebrows shone. At the same time, the 10 fruits hanging on the tree also bloomed with different lights. Seeing this scene, the old man Xin Chen smiled. Okay, worthy of being the successor I favored, he was able to resonate with the star tree for the first time.